Hi, welcome to this video on income tax. Today we will listen to the Allahabad High Court judgment on section 68 in the case of Messrs. Kesharwani Sheetalaya Sahsav, a partnership firm. Section 68 deals with unexplained cash credit when an assessee receives money the source of which cannot be explained. Then the unexplained cash credit is treated as income. The assessment of the firms had led to various cases if the partner's contribution would be taxed under section 68, where the partner's sources could not be explained. The various scenarios and conditions have been discussed in this case law. Further, many cases on this aspect have been discussed here, which has given direction to the Allahabad High Court to pass the order in this case. Please watch the video, subscribe the channel and click on the like button. Present appeal has been filed under Section 260A of the Income Tax Act 1961 against the order of the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal Allahabad dated 30th October 2006 for the assessment year 99-2000, whereby the tribunal partly allowed the appeal filed by the revenue. The instant appeal was admitted on the questions of law as mentioned in the memo of appeal, which are as follows. 1. Whether on the facts and in the circumstances of the case, the tribunal was legally justified in upholding the order of the assessing officer of making addition under section 68 of the Income Tax Act at 4 lakh rupees in the hands of the firm. 2. Whether on the facts and in the circumstance of the case, the tribunal was correct in holding that the assessee was not able to prove the source of income of partners who have made the deposit with the firm in their capital account. Therefore, addition under section 68 is justified. The records of the case before us indicate that the assessee has described itself as a partnership firm having 16 partners engaged in the business of cold storage. For the assessment year 1999-2000, the assessee filed a return of income on 1st November 1999, declaring an income of 36.92 lakhs. The case was selected for scrutiny and notices under section 143 subsection 2, 142 subsection 1 of the Act were issued. The assessment was thereafter made under section 143 subsection 3, and in terms of an order dated 26 March 2002, the assessing officer noted the following credits in the names of the partners. Vishwanath Prasad Kesharwani 50,000, nature is agriculture income, and the evidence photocopy of hand on record. Bhairanath HUF 50,000, Prabhunath 50,000, Rajkumar 50,000, Subhash Chandra 50,000, Satish Chandra, Harish Chandra Kesharwani 50,000. The assessing officer held the credits as unproved and made an addition of 4 lakhs under section 68 of the Act, relying upon a decision of this court in Commissioner of Income Tax Lucknow versus Kapoor Brothers, which was a case where the assessee had entered deposits in the books of firm in the names of partners, and upon the explanations for deposits being rejected, the same were treated as income of the firm and not of the individual partners. An appeal was filed by the assessee against the aforesaid order dated 26 March 2002 before the Commissioner of Income Tax Appeals, Allahabad, which was partly allowed, and the addition made by the assessing officer under section 68 of the Act with regard to the cash credits in the names of the partners in their capital accounts was deleted. The deletion of the cash credits was made on the ground that the partners had shown agricultural income in their returns. It was taken note of that the partners were identifiable and separately assessed to tax, and the firm had explained the source of investment as agricultural income of the partners. Therefore, if at all additions were to be made, then the same had to be made in the hands of the partners and not in the hands of the firm. Aggrieved against the aforesaid order, the revenue filed an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, being ITA number 344, to which the assessee filed cross objections. The ITAT by the order impugned dated 30th October 2006 partly allowed the appeal filed by the revenue and dismissed the cross objections filed by the assessee. The tribunal held that credits in the names of partners as agricultural income were not proved within the meaning of section 68, and therefore the order of the assessing officer treating the same to be a firm's deemed income was restored, and the order passed by the ITAT in that regard was set aside. The principal ground sought to be canvassed by the appellant assessee is that the partners have shown the agricultural income in their personal returns of the previous years, which had been accepted by the revenue as such without any addition, and out of the said agricultural income, the partners having made the deposits with the firm in their capital accounts, the appellant assessee had satisfied the conditions provided under section 68 of the Act with regard to the identity and capacity of the developers as well as genuineness of the transactions. It is submitted that the only point which was required to be considered on the question of making addition under section 68 of the Act in the hands of the firm was the nature and source of the transaction, and the appellant assessee was not required to prove the source of the source. It has been further contended that the genuineness of the transactions having been proved and the firm having duly explained the deposit, the impugned order passed by the tribunal was not justifiable and deserves to be set aside. Contrary to the submissions in favor of assessee, the learned counsel appearing for the revenue has supported the order passed by the tribunal by submitting that the credits have been found in the hands of the firm. The onus was on the firm to prove the creditworthiness of the partners as well as genuineness of the transaction, and no evidence having been given with regard to agricultural operations of the partners. The transactions in the books of the firm were rightly held to be not genuine and proved within the meaning of section 68, and there was no infirmity in the order passed by the tribunal restoring the order of the assessing officer and setting aside the order passed by CAT appeals. Reliance has been placed upon the decision in the case of Kapoor Brothers to contend that the cash credits which are unexplained are to be added in the hands of the firm. In order to answer the questions of law upon which the present appeal has been admitted, it would be necessary to advert to the provisions contained under section 68 of the Act. For ease of reference, section 68 of the Act, as it stood prior to Finance Act 2012, is like this, where any sum is found credited in the books of an assessee maintained for any previous year, and the assessee offers no explanation about the nature and source thereof, or the explanation offered by him is not, in the opinion of the assessing officer, satisfactory, the sum so credited may be charged to income tax as the income of the assessee of that previous year. As per section 68, where any sum is found credited in the books of an assessee maintained for any previous year, and the assessee offers no explanation about the nature and source of the same, or the explanation offered by the assessee is not satisfactory, in the opinion of the assessing officer, the sum so credited may be charged to income tax as the income of the assessee of that previous year. The conditions for the applicability of section 68 are: 1. The existence of books of accounts made by the assessee itself. 2. A credit entry in the books of account. And 3. The absence of a satisfactory explanation by the assessee about the nature and source of the amount credited. The requirement under the section is that the assessee is to submit an explanation about the nature and source of the sum which has been credited. The explanation furnished by the assessee is to be satisfactory, and the credit worthiness or financial strength of the creditor is to be proved by showing that it had sufficient balance in its accounts to explain the source and the credits in the books of accounts of the assessee. The assessee would be required to explain the source of credit in the books of accounts, but not the source of the source, that is, source of the creditor or partner in this case. It is seen that although the requirement under section 68 is that the assessing officer must be satisfied that the explanation offered by the assessee is genuine, but it is also provided that in the absence of a satisfactory explanation, the unexplained cash credit may be charged to income tax. Therefore, the unsatisfactoriness of the explanation would not automatically result in deeming the amount credited in the books as income of the assessee. A similar view was taken in the case of Deputy Commissioner of Income Tax versus Rohini Builders, wherein, referring to the judgment of the Supreme Court in the case of Commissioner of Income Tax versus Srimati P.K. Noor Jahan. Rendered in the context of Section 69 of the Act, it was held that the phraseology of Section 68 is clear. The legislature has laid down that in the absence of a satisfactory explanation, the unexplained cash credit may be charged to income tax as the income of the assessee of that previous year. In this case, the legislative mandate is not in terms of the words shall be charged to income tax as the income of the assessee of that previous year. The Supreme Court, while interpreting similar phraseology used in Section 69, has held that in creating the legal fiction, the phraseology employs the word may and not shall. Thus, the unsatisfactoriness of the explanation does not and need not automatically result in deeming the amount credited in the books as the income of the assessee, as held by Supreme Court in the case of CAT versus Srimati P.K. Noor Jahan, 1999 case, 237 ITR 570. The question of addition under Section 68 in a case of capital introduced by the partners was considered in Commissioner of Income Tax versus Taj Borewells, and taking note of the fact that Section 68 is a charging section and also a deeming provision, it was held that once the firm had offered explanation and established that the capital was contributed by the partners, the same could not be assessable in the hands of the firm. The relevant observations made in the judgment were: Section 68 is a charging section and it is also a deeming provision. Unless the following circumstances exist, the revenue cannot rely on Section 68 of the Act. A. Credit in the books of an assessee maintained for the year. B. The assessee offers no explanation. Or, if the assessee offers explanation, the assessing officer is of the opinion that the same is not satisfactory. The sum so credited is chargeable to taxes income from other sources. Once the firm had offered an explanation and established that the capital was contributed by the partners, the same could not be assessable in the hands of the firm. Unless there are contradictions and inconsistencies in the statement of the partners, the credit cannot be treated as unexplained and cannot be added under Section 68 of the Act in the hands of the assessee firm. The issue relating to addition under Section 68 also came up in Commissioner of Income Tax versus Pragati Cooperative Bank Limited, and taking note of the language of Section 68, it was held that the word may indicates that the intention of the legislature is to confer a discretion on the assessing officer in the manner of treating the source of investment or credit, which had not been satisfactorily explained as income of an assessee. But it is not obligatory to treat such source as income in every case where the explanation offered was found to be not satisfactory. It was held thus: Section 68 of the Act requires that there has to be a credit in the books maintained by an assessee. Such credit has to be of a sum during the previous year, and the assessee offers no explanation about the nature and source of such credit. Or, the explanation offered by the assessee is not, in the opinion of the assessing authority, satisfactory. Then the sum so credit may be charged to tax as income of the assessee of that previous year. The Apex Court in the case of CAT versus Srimati P.K. Noor Jahan has laid down that the word may indicated the intention of the legislature, that a discretion was conferred on the assessing officer in the matter of treating the source of investment or credit, which had not been satisfactorily explained as income of an assessee. But it was not obligatory to treat such source as income in every case where the explanation offered was found to be not satisfactory. The nature and scope of Section 68 of the Act fell for consideration before the Supreme Court in Commissioner of Income Tax versus P. Mohana Kala, and it was held as follows. The question is, what is the true nature and scope of Section 68 of the Act? When and in what circumstances Section 68 of the Act come into play? A B reading of the Section 68 suggests that there has to be credit of amounts in the books maintained by an assessee. Such credit has to be of a sum during the previous year, and the assessees offer no explanation about the nature and source of such credit found in the books. Or, The explanation offered by the assessee in the opinion of assessing officer is not satisfactory. It is only then the sum so credited may be charged to income tax as the income of the assessee of that previous year. The expression the assessees offer no explanation means where the assessees offer no proper, reasonable and acceptable explanation as regards the sums found credited in the books maintained by the assessees. It is true the opinion of the assessing officer for not accepting the explanation offered by the assessees as not satisfactory is required to be based on proper appreciation of material and other attending circumstances available on record. The opinion of the assessing officer is required to be formed objectively with reference to the material available on record. Application of mind is the sine qua non for forming the opinion. The ruling of Mohanakala, the mentioned principle in that case law, has been reiterated and followed in a recent judgment in Principal Commissioner of Income Tax versus NRA Iron and Steel Private Limited. Next, the judgment in the case of Kapoor Brothers, which forms the basis of the order passed by the assessing officer and also that of the tribunal, and upon which strong reliance has been placed by the revenue, was a case where the entries had been made in the books of account of the assessee firm about 3 weeks prior to the end of the accounting period, and the different explanations furnished by the assessee at different stages of the proceedings were disbelieved for the reason that the assessee had failed to establish that the partners had actually deposited the money and that the entries were not fictitious. And it was in view of the said facts that the court proceeded to answer the question referred to it by holding that the cash credit entries standing in the names of the partners in the account books of the firm could validly be treated as income of the firm from the undisclosed sources. The operative portion of the judgment in the case of Kapoor Brothers is as follows. In that case, the entries were alleged to have been made a week before the end of the accounting period. In the present case, the entries were made about 3 weeks prior to the end of the accounting period. Identical amounts were entered as deposited in the name of each partner. Different explanations were given by the assessee at different stages of the proceedings. They were disbelieved. In this view of the matter, the tribunal was not justified in treating the amount as the income of the individual partner in view of the finding that the assessee had failed to establish that the partners have actually deposited the money and that the entries were not fictitious. Accordingly, the court answered the question referred to them by holding that the cash credit entries standing in the names of the partners in the account books of the firm could validly be treated as the income of the firm from undisclosed sources. As no one appeared on behalf of the assessee, there was no order as to the costs. The question as to whether in a case where there are cash credit entries in the books of the assessee firm in which accounts of individual partners exist and it is found as a fact that the cash was received by the firm from its partners, then in the absence of any material to indicate that there were profits of the firm, the sum so credited could be assessed in the hands of the firm was considered in the decision in Commissioner of Income Tax Allahabad versus Jaiswal Motor Finance. And it was stated as, it appears to be well settled that if there are cash credit entries in the books of the firm in which the accounts of the individual partners exist, and it is found as a fact that cash was received by the firm from its partners, then in the absence of any material to indicate that they were profits of the firm, it could not be assessed in the hands of the firm. The court is of the opinion that the tribunal did not commit any error of law and rightly held that the deposits shown in its accounts were satisfactorily explained. The questions with regard to burden of proof in respect of addition under section 68 came up for consideration in India Rice Mills versus Commissioner of Income Tax, and it was held that where capital contributions are made by the partners prior to the commencement of the business by the assessee firm, it is for the partners to explain the source of such capital contribution, and if they failed to discharge such onus, then such capital contributions, although entered in the books of accounts of the assessee firm, cannot be regarded as income of the assessee firm, but the same were to be added in hands of the partners. Distinguishing the judgment in the case of Kapoor Brothers, it was held in this case that reliance on Kapoor brothers case is misplaced, inasmuch as in that case deposits were entered in the books of the firm when it was already carrying on its business. The firm was called upon to explain the source of the deposits. The explanation of the firm was that the deposits represented the sale proceeds of certain assets belonging to the partners. When no evidence was adduced to substantiate that explanation, the assessing authority added the amount as income of the partnership firm. These facts are materially different from the fact of the instant case. Most striking feature of the case on hand is that all the deposits came to be made during the accounting year in the books of the assessee firm before it started its business. Therefore, the onus was on the partners to explain the source in the case on hand, and if they failed, the amount could have been added in their hands only and not in the hands of the assessee firm. The next case is of Commissioner of Income Tax versus Metachem Industries 245 ITR 160, Madhya Pradesh High Court. The question as to whether in a case where there was credit in the capital account of partners in books of the firm, addition thereof could be made in the hands of the firm, or the same had to be considered in the hands of the partners. According to explanation 68, the burden was on the assessee to satisfactorily explain the credit entry in the books of account of the previous year. And in a case where satisfactory explanation had been given by establishing that the amount had been invested by a particular person, be he a partner or any individual, then the burden of the assessee firm is discharged and the credit entry could not be treated to be income of the firm for the purposes of income tax. So far as the responsibility of the assessee is concerned, it is satisfactorily discharged if the proof of source is given. Whether that person is an income tax payer or not, or from where he brought this money, is not the responsibility of the firm. The moment the firm gives a satisfactory explanation and produces the person who has deposited the amount, then the burden of the firm is discharged, and in that case, that credit entry cannot be treated to be the income of the firm for the purposes of income tax. It is open to the assessing officer to take appropriate action under section 69 of the Act against the person who has not been able to explain the investment. Allahabad High Court in this case also distinguished the case laws CAT versus Burma Electro Corporation and Abhyudaya Pharmaceuticals versus Commissioner of Income Tax. It said in the Burma Electro Corporation, though there was no evidence on record to show availability of funds with partners at the time of investment with the assessee firm, the concerned partners have admitted to have made those investments, and there being no material to indicate that those investments were profits of the assessee firm, the sum so credited could not be assessed as income of the firm in terms of section 68, but could be assessed in the hands of the individual partners. That was upheld. However, in the case of Abhyudaya Pharmaceuticals case in Allahabad High Court, if there are cash credit entries in the books of the assessee firm in which accounts of an individual partner exist, and it is found as a fact that the cash was received by the firm from its partners, then in the absence of any material to indicate that the same were profits of the firm, it could not be assessed in the hands of the firm. In the Abhyudaya Pharmaceutical versus CAT case, Kapoor Brothers was distinguished with Jaiswal Motor Finance. And this is how it went. It appears that the ratio of the decisions given in the case of Kapoor Brothers, Jaiswal Motor Finance is conflicting, but on a meaningful reading thereof would show that they were rendered in different factual matrix. The ratio laid down in the case of Kapoor Brothers will be applicable in a case where a partner brings capital at the formation of the firm itself, before the commencement of business by the firm. It would not be applicable in a case where the deposit is reflected in the account books of the firm during the currency of the business of the firm. When the assessee firm has no business, it cannot possibly have any income. Therefore, in such a case, the question of presumption of income of the assessee firm would not arise generally. But it is not appropriate when the assessee firm is earning income from its business, and in that situation the assessee firm has to explain the cash credit standing in its account. If the above line of distinction is kept in mind, we find that both the decisions are standing on a different factual background. The authorities have committed error as they have failed to take into account that this was the first year of the business of the assessee firm. The partnership firm was formed on July 5, 1990, and on July 7, 1990, Master Shishir Garg deposited 1,90,000 and 72,000 as capital money with the firm through bank clearance of two bank drafts. The accounting period being financial year that is ending on March 31st, 91, the firm could not have any income at time of its formation. The identity of the depositor, that is Master Shishir Garg, was not in issue at any point of time before the income tax authorities. They treated the said deposit by Master Shishir Garg. This being so, if for one reason or the other they were not satisfied with the financial capability of Master Shishir Garg, the amounts could have been added at the hands of Mr. Shishir Garg and not at the hands of the firm. The decision relied upon by the learned counsel for the department is clearly distinguishable on facts, as it was not in respect of first year of the business and has no application whatsoever. The argument put by him that the income was liable to be added in the hands of firm as Master Shishir Garg, being minor, could not be prosecuted, has no substance. After discussing all these decisions by various courts, in the current case, Allahabad High Court, in the case law of Kesharwani Shitalaya Sahsa, observed these points. On the basis of the language used under Section 68 and the various decisions of different high courts and the apex court, the only conclusion which could be arrived at is 1. That there is no distinction between the cash credit entry existing in the books of the firm, whether it is of a partner or of a third party. 2. That the burden to prove the identity, capacity and genuineness has to be on the assessee. 3. If the cash credit is not satisfactorily explained, the income tax officer is justified to treat it as income from undisclosed sources. 4. The firm has to establish that the amount was actually given by the lender. 5. The genuineness and regularity in the maintenance of the account has to be taken into consideration by the taxing authorities. 6. If the explanation is not supported by any documentary or other evidence, then the deeming fiction credited by Section 68 can be invoked. It is therefore seen that in a case where a sum is credited in the books of account of a firm from a partner, the assessee firm could discharge its onus by proving three things: identity of the creditor, creditworthiness of the creditor, and genuineness of transaction in question. Once the assessee proves all the three things in its onus is discharged, it has also been consistently held that the assessee only needs to prove the source of credit entries, and he is not required to prove the source of the source or the creditor's credit. In a case where the integrity of the creditors is established and the entries are shown to be not fictitious, the burden would shift on the revenue. In the case at hand, the partners have shown the agricultural income in their personal returns of the past years, which had been accepted by the department as such. The partners are all identifiable and separately assessed to tax. The source of investment having been explained, in the event the assessing officer was not satisfied, the addition could have been considered in the hands of the partners and not in the hands of the firm. The burden of proving the source of the credits have been sufficiently explained. The addition could not have been made in the hands of the firm in the facts of the present case. In view of the aforementioned facts and circumstances, the question of law are answered in favor of the assessee and against the revenue. Section 68 Post Amendment of 2012. The viewers and the audience of this video should clearly note this very important point. The case law we discussed was with respect to Section 68 prior to amendment of 2012. This slide talks about Section 68 post amendment of 2012. The Finance Act 2012 has amended Section 68 of the Act to specifically include sums such as share application money, share premium, etc., even if it is partner's capital, within its ambit, and clearly laid out the requirement for the taxpayer to provide an explanation regarding the nature and source of funds of the creditor or investor. So Section 68 prior to amendment 2012 and post amendment of 2012 is distinguished in this slide. Especially students, be very careful on the entire case law that we discussed till now and the change in section 68 post amendment of section 2012. To reiterate, section 68 is amended to specifically include sums such as share application money, share premium, receipt from creditors or partners to their capital accounts, all these things within its ambit, and clearly laid out the requirement for the taxpayer to provide an explanation regarding the nature and sources of funds of the creditor or investor. Investor may be shareholder or partner. So this distinction should be carefully noted by this audience and the viewers. Thank you for a patient hearing. In order to get more such videos, kindly subscribe this channel and click on bell button to receive new videos in real time. Please like the video in order to encourage to make more such videos.